Hey friends, Santiago was a young shepherd who herded his sheep in a place called Andalusia in Spain. His life was quite simple but very adventurous. Every day he would travel to new places, visit new villages, meet new people, and this made his life very exciting. He had no permanent home, and his sheep were like his family, whom he loved dearly. He would talk to them, tell them his stories, and these days he was repeatedly telling his sheep a particular story. It was about a girl he had met around a year ago in a place called Tarifa. The girl was very beautiful, with big, expressive eyes and thick hair. She was the daughter of a merchant, and the moment Santiago saw her, he started feeling something special. So he went and talked to her. They shared many things about their dreams and their lives. The interesting part was that Santiago was now heading towards Tarifa again. Only 4 days were left before he would meet her again. On this journey to Tarifa, one evening he stopped to rest in an old church whose roof was broken. There was a large sycamore tree there, and beneath it, Santiago cleared the ground with his coat and made a pillow out of his books to sleep. While sleeping, he had a dream where some children were playing with his sheep. One of the children took Santiago's hand and led him to Egypt, where there were great pyramids. The boy told Santiago about a treasure he would find if he went there. Now, the thing was, this wasn't the first time he had this dream. He had seen the same dream many times. But whenever the boy tried to tell him the exact location, Santiago would wake up, and this was bothering him. So, when Santiago reached Tarifa, he remembered that there was an old woman there who interpreted the secrets behind dreams. Santiago went to her strange house, where there were curtains made of beads. When the old woman met him, she told Santiago, "I will tell you the meaning of your dream, but the condition is that if you find the treasure, you will have to give me 10% of it." Santiago agrees, thinking, "Let's see what happens," and asks her, "What does the dream mean?" The old woman tells him that there's truth in his dream, and he should go to Egypt and search for his treasure near the pyramids. Santiago got irritated by this answer because the old woman told him exactly what he already knew. She didn't tell him anything new, like exactly where to find the treasure. Irritated, Santiago told her, "You've just told me all the simple things I already know." The old woman smiled and said, "Many truths in life are simple. Sometimes we just don't understand them." All of the old woman's words left Santiago feeling a bit confused. He felt like he had wasted his time coming here, so he headed into the city. After wandering around a bit, he exchanged one of his books for another and went to a plaza. He sat down on a bench there, and as he tried to read his new book, an old man approached him. Without asking, the old man sat down next to him. Santiago had no interest in the man. Then the old man looked at Santiago's book and said, "This book is a bit strange because it teaches the same things that many other books do." He mentioned the world's greatest lie. This made Santiago curious, and he asked, "What is the world's greatest lie?" The old man replied, The lie is that at a certain point in life, we lose control of what happens to us, and fate decides everything. The old man introduced himself as Melchizedek and said, "I am the king of Salem." Santiago didn't believe him at all. But when the old man started telling him about his parents' names, his school, and many other personal details, Santiago was shocked. Melchizedek reminded him of his personal legend and said, "You will find a treasure near the pyramids of Egypt, and you should go there. But to follow this dream, Santiago would have to give him 1/10 of his sheep." Now, Santiago found this strange because the old man who looked poor was calling himself a king. And on top of that, he was asking for his sheep. Still, Santiago agrees to it. After this, the old man tells Santiago about omens. Omens are basically signs that a person often sees or encounters. Then, the old man gives him 2 stones, Urim and Thummim. These stones are essentially meant to show signs. Whenever Santiago feels confused during his journey, these stones will give him guidance. One stone would give a yes signal, and the other a no. Santiago could use these stones on his journey to help him reach his destination. However, Melchizedek also told him to rely on his own decisions as much as possible, rather than depending solely on the stones. After that, Santiago started waiting for his first omen, a sign that would tell him he was on the right path. Suddenly, a butterfly flew between them, which reminded Santiago that his grandfather once said butterflies are a good omen. This omen motivated Santiago to start his journey. He decided to begin his journey, even though it wasn't going to be easy. He had to make the decision to sell all his sheep, which he loved dearly. But still, he gathered the courage and gave 6 sheep to the old man, and with the rest, he bought a ticket to Egypt. To follow his dream, Santiago then arrived in the city of Tangier. Upon arriving, he felt very strange because the city was so different from what he was used to. The women there had their faces covered, and the men were smoking from large pipes. Everyone was speaking in Arabic, but then he heard a familiar sounder man who spoke Spanish, just like him. Hearing Spanish gave Santiago a lot of comfort, and he started talking with the man quite a bit. The boy, who was around his age, said to him, "I can guide you. Crossing the desert isn't easy. You'll need money for that. Do you have money?" Santiago showed him his pouch of money. The boy said, "All right, then let's go. I'll help you." After that, the boy takes Santiago through the crowded places of the city. When the crowd becomes overwhelming, he tells Santiago, "Keep your pouch safe. Things can get stolen in this crowd. Or you can give it to me, and I'll keep it safe for you." Santiago finds this strange, but he is so confused that he hands his pouch over to him. Then, after a short while, when Santiago notices a beautiful sword that he really likes and is about to ask for its price, he suddenly realizes that his friend has disappeared. He has stolen all of Santiago's money. Santiago is at a loss and starts blaming himself, thinking that he made a big mistake. After all these events, he thinks he shouldn't have come at all. Personal legends are just useless things. When Santiago looks in his pouch, he only sees the two stones, Urim and Thummim, which remind him of the old man. With a heavy heart, Santiago holds the stones in his hand and feels a little lighter. He remembers a line from the old man. When you truly want something, the entire universe conspires to help you achieve it. This line gives him strength. Santiago starts looking for omens again, just as the old man had said. Then he spots a shop in the city that sells crystal. Santiago enters the shop and takes a moment to look around. He says to the shop owner, "If you want, I can clean your crystal. The way it looks right now, no one will buy it because it's covered in dust." The merchant doesn't say anything, but Santiago takes off his jacket and begins to work. After a while, two new customers come in to see the cleaned crystal. This is surprising because the merchant has had his shop for many years, and he has been noticing that his business has been declining. However, suddenly, thanks to this boy's arrival, he gets two new customers. Therefore, the merchant tells him, "I'll treat you to a meal." And while they are eating, he offers Santiago a chance to work in his shop. Santiago sees this as a good omen. With customers coming in and getting a job, Santiago says, "I will work for you, but I need money to reach Egypt." The merchant laughs and replies, "To reach Egypt, you'll probably have to work here for a year to save enough money. Egypt is quite far from here." Hearing this, Santiago becomes very sad. He feels that his adventure has come to an end. No personal legend, no treasure, no pyramids, he would just have to spend his life here. The merchant tells him, "Don't worry. If you want, I can give you back the money for you to return to your country." After that, Santiago looks at his pouch and the stones. But he says to himself, "I will work for you. I need to buy my sheep back, and for that, I need money." Santiago works for the crystal merchant for a year. He knows that the job he is doing won't bring him happiness or satisfaction, but it can help him get his sheep back and return to his country. That's why he starts to say that the merchant he is working for is honest. Because of this, the merchant gives Santiago a commission for every crystal sold. One day, Santiago tells the merchant that he wants to make a display case for the crystals, so that people passing by the shop can see the crystals well, which will help increase sales. At first, the merchant ignores Santiago's suggestion, but then he agrees. Due to these innovations, the business of the crystal shop gradually starts to grow significantly. After working for quite some time, one morning, Santiago tells the merchant, "I now have enough money to buy my sheep back." Upon returning home, the merchant remains silent for a moment and then says, "I'm proud of you, but I know you won't buy your sheep." Santiago replies, "How do you know?" The merchant simply says one word, "Maktob," which means it's written. Santiago then looks at the Urim and Thummim in his pouch and understands that going to the pyramids is his true purpose. He again makes a decision, choosing to pursue his dreams instead of staying with his comfortable sheep and the freedom-filled life. He decides to continue looking for omens and signs. After making this decision, he is contemplating how to get to Egypt when he learns that the crystal merchant has a supplier whose goods will be transported across the desert by caravan. Santiago then sets out with the caravan. During his journey, he meets an Englishman in the caravan who sees Santiago holding the Urim and Thummim, and sarcastically remarks, "Those are just cheap stones. Why are you handling them so carefully?" Irritated, Santiago replies, "You wouldn't understand. A king gave them to me." The Englishman laughs and responds, "I understand. I've read about them in the Bible. You know, I'm in search of an alchemist who lives in the Al-Fahum oasis, and I'm going to meet him." Now, this journey is quite long. During the trip, they begin to realize that there are many thieves, barbarians, and tribal wars along the way, which means they have to be cautious as they travel. One night, when the Englishman can't sleep, he comes over to Santiago and says, "Your life is heading toward a great principle." Santiago asks, "What principle?" The Englishman replies, "The greatest principle of alchemy, the soul of the world." Santiago inquires, "What is that?" The Englishman explains, "It's a positive force that tries to make everything alive, whether it's living or lifeless, or to improve it." Santiago finds this idea interesting, but also confusing. Afterward, he begins reading the Englishman's books, which introduce him to the Emerald Tablet, the most important text in alchemy. He learns about the two parts of the masterwork, the elixir of life, which cures all ailments, and the philosopher's stone, which can turn any metal into gold. Through this shared knowledge, their friendship deepens. One day, the Englishman tells Santiago that he is only scratching the surface of alchemy. The alchemist is so powerful that he can transform metals into gold, and all the treasure is in your hands. After hearing this, Santiago begins to wonder if all of this is somehow related to gold and his dreams. Just then, they receive news that a war has broken out in the desert. But the good thing is that he safely reaches Al-Fahum oasis with the caravan where the Englishman was supposed to arrive. Santiago also stays here and comes down with the Englishman, and something interesting happens. Santiago meets a girl named Fatima, and he falls in love with her the moment he sees her. She seems so beautiful to him. After that, Fatima tells him that the Englishman is searching for the alchemist, and she knows where to find him. He lives to the south of the desert. Following this, the Englishman goes with Santiago to meet the alchemist. The Englishman is very happy to meet the alchemist, believing that he will finally get the answers to his questions with his support. He has read so many books and learned so much about alchemy. Now, he believes that the alchemist will provide him with answers to all his doubts and problems related to those concepts. With that excitement, when the Englishman asks the alchemist many questions, the alchemist simply replies, "Go and try." Hearing this, the Englishman feels disappointed, realizing that after 10 years of studying and learning so much, he is left with such unhelpful responses instead of the discussions he had hoped for. However, to move forward in his life, he receives only a simple instruction: go and try, which leaves him feeling disappointed. Gradually, he realizes that while he has learned many theories, he has not applied any of them practically in his life. And that is the biggest mistake the alchemist has been trying to make him understand. With just 3 words, go and try, he begins to take action. He starts trying, and gradually, the Englishman begins to transform into an alchemist himself. He realizes that his fear of failure had prevented him from trying, which is why he could never become a master. One day, Santiago is waiting for Fatima by the well. The caravan was still in Alfaham due to the war. Santiago thought that today he would confess his love to Fatima, and he did share everything about his personal legend and the pyramids with her. After meeting Fatima, Santiago experiences the language of the world for the first time. The language of the world is a language that everyone understands without words. Fatima and Santiago's love story was very simple, but it was deepened by this language of the world. Now, when Santiago tells Fatima everything, she encourages him not to stay with her but to pursue his personal legend, and she expresses this with a powerful line. She says that true love is what never holds you back from pursuing your dreams. These words leave Santiago feeling a bit troubled. Then one day, in the middle of the desert, Santiago sees 2 hawks fighting, and he has a strange vision. In this vision, he sees an army approaching, ready to attack the oasis. This is a significant omen, a sign, and Santiago goes to tell the tribal chief in the oasis about it. When he shares his vision with the chief, they don't take him lightly, as they also believe in omens. However, they say one thing: they will start preparing for the battle. But if what you say doesn't happen, we will kill you. After hearing this, Santiago feels a bit scared. When he steps out of the tent, he sees a horseman dressed in black clothing. This is essentially the alchemist himself. He asks who had the courage to interpret the fight of the hawks. Santiago replies, "I did, because it was the will of the heavens." The horseman is impressed and says, "Don't stop pursuing your dreams. Come to me after everything is over tonight." The next day, over 2,000 soldiers of Al-Fahim prepared to monitor the forces. And just as Santiago had predicted, events unfold accordingly. An army arrives to attack the oasis. However, since they are prepared in advance, they manage to win and survive. The chief is very pleased with this and offers Santiago 50 gold coins and the position of tribal counselor. Santiago asks for some time to think about it and then goes to meet the man who is basically the alchemist. The alchemist says to him, "I called you here because you need help." Santiago replies, "No, I don't need help. The Englishman needs your help." But the alchemist insists, no, that Englishman has a different purpose. Your path lies towards the pyramids, and I can help you with that. At this point, Santiago feels a bit irritated because he is no longer interested in going near the pyramids. He has everything. He has found a camel, he has money, he has gold, he has a good position, and Fatima is right there with him. Upon seeing this, the alchemist smiles and says, "You still don't have anything of the pyramids, which is what you actually need." After that, the alchemist tells Santiago to sell his camel to buy a horse. The next night, Santiago becomes confused again. Instead of seeking answers from the stones, he makes his own decision to get the horse. With the horse, he returns to the alchemist's tent. Now, the alchemist mounts his horse and places a falcon on his shoulder, telling Santiago, "Let's go find the treasure," marking the beginning of their new journey. As they are heading towards the pyramids, thoughts of Fatima begin to flood Santiago's mind again. He tells the alchemist, "I don't want to leave Fatima behind." The alchemist explains to him that Fatima understands the importance of fulfilling his personal legend, and that she supports him in this journey. "What could be better than that?" he says. Santiago then asks the alchemist, "What would have happened if I had stayed in Al-Fahim?" The alchemist shows Santiago his future. He explains, "If you had stayed there, you would have married and been happy for a few years, but gradually you would still not be able to forget your dream. A sense of regret would grow within you. Fatima would also drift away from you. Why? Because you didn't fulfill your personal legend, and you wouldn't be truly happy." Hearing this, Santiago realizes that he is indeed making the right choice. The next day, Santiago and the alchemist are crossing many dangerous places. At that moment, Santiago tells the alchemist again, "My heart is afraid that I might lose everything." The alchemist smiles and replies, "The heart doesn't get lost or hurt when you pursue your dreams. It gets lost when you don't. Chasing dreams is the same as connecting with the higher power." After this, 3 tribal men stop them on the road and begin searching them, specifically looking for the alchemist. They then find both the Philosopher's Stone and the Elixir of Life. When the tribal men ask the alchemist what they are, he truthfully tells them that they have magical powers. One cures illness, and the other turns metal into gold. The tribal men then start laughing and allow both of them to continue on their way. Santiago, surprised, asks why he revealed the truth. The alchemist replies that people often don't believe the truth even when it's right in front of them. Such people continue to move forward. Now, some soldiers capture them, mistaking them for spies, and lock them up in their camp. There, the alchemist tells the chief that Santiago is an alchemist who can destroy the entire camp using the power of the wind. "Let us go," Santiago pleads. The chief then challenges him, saying that if he can demonstrate his ability to become the wind in 3 days and show his magical powers, they will let him go. Otherwise, they will kill him. Santiago becomes very distressed, wondering, "Am I really not an alchemist? Why did you put me in this situation?" Then the alchemist calmly said, "Your fear is what is holding you back from reaching your dreams, and you need to overcome that fear within 3 days. To do this, you will need to practice." The alchemist teaches Santiago how he can harness the power of the wind. One day, Santiago works hard, putting in a lot of effort. but nothing happens. On the second day, nothing happens. However, on the third day, he begins to understand the concept of the soul of the world. He grasps the language of the world, after which he asks the desert and the wind for help. He communicates with them, and then a sandstorm arises, which hides Santiago and transports him from one part of the camp to another. The wind begins to blow through the camp, astonishing the chief and all the people, and they let both of them go. After that, they reach a monastery which belongs to the alchemist. There, the alchemist takes a piece of lead and, using the power of the philosopher's stone, transforms it into gold and gives it to Santiago in pieces. He says, "The pyramids are just 3 hours away from here. I've helped you cross most of the journey. Now you'll have to complete the rest of the journey alone." With the gold in hand, Santiago sets off towards the pyramids and eventually arrives at the very pyramid he had seen in his dream. He finds the exact pyramid there, where he begins to see omens ahead. A beetle is moving through the sand, and Santiago sees it as a sign, an omen. He starts digging in the area, happily searching for his treasure. He digs for quite a while. Just then, some tribal war refugees arrive. When they see a madman standing near the pyramid, they approach him and notice the gold he has. The gold that the alchemist had given him is looted by them, and they begin to believe that there might indeed be some treasure here. They force him to keep digging. Santiago continues to dig with all his effort, reaching a point of exhaustion. As he becomes delirious, he starts talking about his dream, saying that he had a vision where the treasure was right here. Hearing this, the refugees laugh, especially one of them. He chuckles and says, "Does every crazy person believe in their dreams? I had a dream too, where the treasure was buried beneath a church in Spain, under a sycamore tree. Should I start chasing after my dream as well?" He dismisses Santiago, saying he is wasting his time and money. At that moment, Santiago starts to realize everything. He understands that the actual treasure was not in Egypt, but right beneath the tree where he had slept that night. After this revelation, Santiago returns to Spain with a little money to help him. He reaches the church where he had slept that night. With excitement, he starts digging in the spot where he had rested, and guess what? There he finds a large chest filled with diamonds, jewels, and gold coins. He also places the Urim and Thummim in that chest. At that moment, he realizes that the actual treasure was right there all along. Still, the higher power sent him on a journey, because the real treasure was not the chest of gold, but the journey he had completed. If he had found the gold that day, he would never have experienced this journey. He wouldn't have gained the experiences he did, or met Fatima, who was truly his greatest treasure. After that, he returns to Fatima with all his treasures. Now, friends, the story of the alchemist that I've tried to share has many hidden lessons. But there are 7 important lessons that I believe you should take away. The first is to chase your dreams. Every person dreams, but only a few leave their comfort zones and pursue their dreams like Santiago. Lesson no. 2. Embrace your personal legend. While working towards your dreams, many distractions arise, and there are many things that tempt you. During these times, you must remember what your personal legend is, what your purpose is that you need to pursue. Third, challenges are your omens. When we chase our dreams, we encounter numerous challenges, but we should view challenges as omen signs that guide us in a particular direction. Next, fear your failure. Many times, when we are pursuing our dreams, we learn a lot and do many things. However, out of fear of failure, we often refrain from taking action, just like the Englishman, which is something you should avoid. Next, listen to your heart. When you pursue your dreams, you will encounter a lot of confusion. But whenever you're confused, you should listen to your heart and follow your instincts. 6. Treasures within. Sometimes, when we embark on our journey, we believe that we will find money, jewels, and all those things by leaving our country or perhaps our loved ones behind. But sometimes, the treasure is right where we are. We just fail to see it, much like the truth that stands right in front of us. And lastly, the journey is what matters. When we set out to fulfill our dreams, we think that achieving that dream will bring us happiness. In reality, happiness lies in the journey we choose to take, the journey we live daily to achieve our dreams. These were some powerful lessons that I derived from the story of the Alchemist. Which lesson did you find the most powerful? If you've learned any lessons from this video apart from these, please do comment. That's all for now. See you in the next video. Bye bye.